Hello friends, my name is Priya from BSc Chemistry Honors second year. Today I am going to read Physical Chemistry chapter Distribution Law. Let's start. Nernst distribution law. Nernst distribution law studies the distribution of a solute between two immiscible solvents in contact with each other. When a solute soluble in two miscible solvents is added to a mixture of these solvents, the concentration of solute in both the solvent are indifferent. In other words, the solute distributes itself in both the solvent. For example, when a dilute solution of iodine in water shaken with carbon tetrachloride, the iodine distributes between two immiscible solvents. Iodine is about 86 times more soluble in carbon tetrachloride than in water. Due to higher solubility, most of the iodine passes into CCl4 layer. In simple words, iodine is distributed between two immiscible solvents, water and carbon tetrachloride. Nernst in 1891 showed that when a solute is added to a mixture of two immiscible liquid in both of which it dissolves, then it distributes itself between both the liquid in such a way that the ratio of concentration of the solute in both the liquids remain constant at constant temperature. However, the ratio is constant only when the solute has more molecular state in both the solvents. That is, the solute neither undergoes association nor dissociation in both these solvents. The generalization put forward by Nernst is called Nernst distribution law and is stated as a solute distributed itself between two non-miscible solvents in contact with each other in such a way that at equilibrium, the ratio of the concentration of the solute in the two layers is constant at a given temperature, provided the molecular state of solute is same in both the solvents. If a solute X distributes itself between solvents A and B, as in figure 1, the distribution law is written as concentration of X in solvent A divided by concentration of X in solvent B is equal to C1 by C2 is equal to K. The constant K is termed as a partition coefficient or distribution coefficient. Factors affecting partition coefficient: nature of solute, nature of liquid pair, temperature. Nature of solute. For a particular liquid pair, different solutes have different solubility, hence the value of partition coefficient will be different for different solutes at a given temperature. It is clearly seen from the data in the table below. Second is nature of liquid pair. A given solute has different partition coefficient in different liquid pair as shown in the table given below. Third is temperature. The solubility of a solute in a particular solvent changes with temperature. As the temperature is changed, the solubility of a solute in a given liquid pair also changes. Therefore, the partition coefficient also changes with temperature. The change in value of partition coefficient for 1 degree rise in temperature is known as temperature coefficient. However, the value of temperature coefficient is generally small. Table below gives value temperature coefficient for some systems. Now we read experimental verification of distribution law. Solution of iodine in carbon tetrachloride of different concentration are shaken with water taken in different bottles. These are allowed to stand undistributed till the two layers separate out. A known volume of CCl4 layer and aqueous layer is pipetted out and titrated against standard sodium thiosulfate solution, and the concentration of iodine is determined. The following results for the distribution of I2 between CCl4 and water shows the consistency of ratio of concentration in which layer, hence prove the validity of distribution law. These results shows that the ratio C1 by C2 is almost constant, hence the distribution law is valid in the case. Now we study the condition for validity of distribution law. Limitations of Nernst distribution law. Distribution law is in its simple form, that is K is equal to C1 by C2, does not hold under all conditions. Some limitations and the condition under which the law is applicable are as follows. First, temperature should be kept constant. The solubility of a solute in both the liquids changes with change in temperature. This may result in change in concentration in both the solvents. Moreover, change in temperature may affect the mutual solubility of the two solvents. Therefore, with change in temperature, a different value of partition coefficient is obtained at very temperature. Hence, the temperature should be kept constant throughout the determination of partition coefficient. The two solvents should be immiscible or sparkling soluble. The mutual solubility of the two solvents should not be affected by the addition of solute. The solution's solutes be diluted. The molecular state of solute should be same in both the solvents. This law is not valid under the following condition. First is when the solute undergo association. The law in simple form is not applicable when the solute undergoes association in any of the solvents. For example, distribution law does not hold for phenol distributed between benzenes and water because phenol undergoes association in benzene. to form diamines. When the solute undergo dissociation, the distribution law is also not valid for solute which undergo dissociation in any of the solvents. For example, electrolytes like HCl undergoes dissociation in water and hence its solution is a mixture of water and an organic solvent, does not obey distribution law in its simple form. Modification of distribution law with change in molecular state of solute. Nernst shows that the ratio C1 by C2 is constant, that is K is equal to C1 by C2 is applicable only when the solute has the same molecular condition in both the liquids. That means the solute does not undergo association or dissociation in any of the liquids. However, if any of such changes take place in one or both the liquids, then the distribution law gets modified. Let us consider case in which a solute may associate or dissociate or enter into chemical combination with one of the solvent. Case 1. When solute undergoes association in one of the solvents. Suppose a solute X remains in the normal molecular state in phase 1, whereas in phase 2 n molecules of X undergoes association to form complex molecules Xn as shown. Solute X undergoes association in solvent. Second, here two equilibria exist simultaneously, that is X equilibrium X and second is N X equilibrium Xn. Suppose the total concentration of solute X in phase 1 is equal to C2. The total concentration of solute X in phase 2 is equal to C2. If alpha is the degree of dissociation of solute in phase 2, then the concentration of associated molecules in phase 2, that is Xn, is equal to 1 by n C2 alpha. The concentration of normal molecules in phase is equal to 1 minus alpha C2. Applying distribution law to the distribution of X in the two solvents, we can write concentration of X in phase 1 divided by concentration of normal molecules of X in phase 2 is equal to K. That is C1 by 1 minus alpha C2 is equal to K. Applying law of chemical equilibrium to the polymerization process NX equilibrium Xn, we can write the equilibrium constant K equilibrium as concentration of associated molecule in phase 2 upon concentration of normal molecules in phase 2 power n is equal to K equilibrium. 1 minus n C2 alpha by 1 minus alpha C2 की power n is equal to K equilibrium. Taking nth root on both sides, we have C1 by n under root C2 minus alpha K by K equilibrium constant is equal to constant. However, when the molecules in phase 2 are completely associated, that is alpha is equal to 1, then equation 3rd becomes C1 by n C2 under root C2 is equal to constant. The relation is used in determining the value of n, the extent of association of molecules. The values of C1 and C2 are determined experimentally and substituted in equation 4th. Putting n is equal to 1, 2, 3, etc. The values for which a nearly constant value of K is obtained is equal to n. Equation 4 has been verified by studying the distribution of benzoic acid between water and benzene. Benzoic acid exists almost entirely as dimer C6H5COOH2 in benzene, but in normal state in water. Evidently, the ratio C1 by C2 is not constant. Hence, benzoic does not exist as single molecules in benzene. A fairly constant value of C by C under root C2 shows that the benzoic acid exists as diamines in benzoic. The method of calculate N has been explained in section 8.0. Case 2. When the solute undergoes dissociation in one of the solvents, let the solute X dissolved in phase 1 in its normal state and undergoes dissociation in solvent 2 as shown in figure 3. The two equilibria existing simultaneously are X equilibrium X equilibrium A plus B. Total concentration of X in phase 1 is equal to C1. Total concentration of X in phase 2 is equal to C2. The degree of dissociation of solute in phase 2 is equal to alpha. The concentration of undissociated molecules in phase 2 is equal to 1 minus alpha C2. Applying distribution law, the ratio of concentration of solute in equilibrium is given by C1 by C2. 1 minus alpha is equal to K. On the other hand, when the solute is dissociated in phase 1 having degree of dissociation alpha and remains undissociated in phase 2, then the partition coefficient is given by C1 1 minus alpha by C2 is equal to K. Case 3. When the solute is dissociated in both the solvents, it is evident from the figure 4 that the concentration of the solute in layer First is C1 1 minus alpha, and in layer second is C2 1 minus alpha, where alpha is the degree of dissociation of the solute. The partition coefficient is given by C2 1 minus alpha upon C1 1 minus alpha is equal to K. Case fourth, when the solute enters into chemical combination with one of the solvents, suppose the solute X remain in normal molecule state in solvent first, but not one molecule of X combines with n molecules of solvent in phase second to form X dot ns molecule. Following equilibria exit simultaneously: X equilibrium X plus ns equilibrium X dot ns X into ns. Let the concentration of solute X in normal state of phase 1 is equal to C1. The concentration of X in normal state in phase 2 is equal to C2. Concentration of solvents molecule in phase second is equal to concentration of complex molecule in phase second is equal to Cc. Applying distribution law to the equilibrium first, we get C1 by C2 is equal to K. Applying law of chemical equilibrium to the equilibrium second, we get E by C2 into my Cs is equal to my K1. In dilute solution, the concentration of solvent in phase second is in excess, therefore its concentration Cs remains practically constant. Thus equation second takes the form C by my C2 is equal to K1 into Cs की power n is equal to K2 constant. Adding 1 both side, dividing equation by third, we get C1 by C2 into C2 by C2 plus Cc is equal to K by 1 plus K2. C1 by C2 plus Cc is equal to K by 1 plus K2 is equal to K3. C2 plus Cc is equal to total concentration of normal molecules and solvent solute molecule in phase second. Therefore equation 4 may be written as total concentration of solute in solute X in phase 1 by total concentration of solute X in phase second is equal to constant. It is evident that when the solute molecules enter into chemical combination with solvent molecules, the distribution law does not get modified. However, there is change in the numerical value of the constant. Thermodynamic derivation of distribution law. The derivation of distribution law from thermodynamics is based on the condition that in a phase equilibrium between two immiscible liquids containing the same solute dissolved in them, the chemical potential of the solute must be same in both the phases. Suppose a solute is present in two immiscible solvents A and B is contact with each other. The chemical potential in solvent A is mu A and in solvent B is mu B. At equilibrium, the chemical potential of the solute in both the phases is equal, that is mu A is equal to mu B. From the thermodynamics, we know chemical potential of a substance is given as mu is equal to mu naught plus RT log of A, where mu naught is standard chemical potential and A is the activity of the solute in solution. Therefore mu A is equal to my mu naught A plus RT log of A for phase A, and mu B is equal to mu naught B plus RT ln AB. Hence mu naught A plus RT ln AA is equal to mu naught B plus RT ln AB, or RT ln AA divided by AB is equal to mu naught B minus mu naught A ln AA by AB is equal to mu naught B minus mu naught A upon RT. At constant temperature, the standard chemical potential mu naught A and mu naught B for a given solute in a particular solvents are constant. Since R is also constant, it follows from equation 5th that ln AA by AB is equal to constant, AA by AB is equal to constant. Since the solutions are dilute, therefore the activities are equal to the concentration, so equation 7 becomes CA by CB is equal to constant is equal to K. This is the Nernst distribution law. It is applicable in the form when the solute is normal distributed in both the layers. However, it gets modified in the case when the solute undergoes association, dissociation, or enters into chemical combination with one of the solvent. Applications of distribution law. There are many applications of distribution law in laboratory and in industry. Some of these are briefly discussed here. First is in calculating solubility of a solvent in a solute in a solvent. When a solute is taken with two immiscible solvents in contact with each other at equilibrium, both the solvents are saturated with the solute. Therefore, the concentration at equilibrium are equal to the solubility of the solute in both the solvents. We can write the distribution law as C1 by C2 is equal to S1 by S2 is equal to K. Hence, knowing the value of distribution constant K and the solubility of solute in which of the solvent, the solubility in other solvent can be calculated. Second is distribution indicators. Certain solvents can appreciably dissolve even the small amount of solute present in some other solvent. When such a solvent is added to a dilute solution of the solute in some other solvent, most of the solute get distributed into this solvent. Hence it acts as an indicator for the presence of even a small amount of solute. For example, a dilute solution of iodine in water is almost colorless. Iodine is considered soluble in CS2. Its distribution coefficient between CS2 and water is 400. Therefore, an extremely dilute solution of iodine can be estimated by adding a few drops of CS2 to its aqueous solution. A sufficient amount of iodine phases into CS2 layer and gives it a deep violet color. This solution may be titrated against hypo solution till the violet color in CS2 layer disappear. Hence, CS2 can serve as distribution indicator in iodometric titration, in which iodine is produced during titration. Third is in determining the extent of association or dissociation of a solute in solvent. Using distribution law, the molecular state of a solute in a solvent can be determined in the distribution experiment. If the ratio of concentration of the solute in both the solvent, that is C1 by C2, is constant, then the solute behaves normally in both the solvent. When a solute X undergoes association in one of the solvents NX equilibrium XN having concentration C2 in it, then the distribution law modifies as C1 by N under root C2 is equal to K. From the value of N, the molecular mass of the solute in this solvent can be calculated by multiplication the actual molecular mass by N. For example, benzoic acid in a mixture of water, mass of benzoic acid in benzene is equal to 2 into 122 is equal to 244. The value of N in above expansion can be calculated by one of the following methods. First is by hit and trial method. The values of C and C2 are obtained experimentally, and C1 by N under root C2 is equal to K are put in the following equation. Then putting N 2, 3, 4, the corresponding values K are calculated. The number which gives a constant value for K is the correct value of N. B. Logarithm method. We have the equation C1 by N C2 is equal to K, or C1 by C2 की power 1 by N is equal to K. C1 is equal to C2 की power 1 by N K. Taking logs on both sides, log C1 is equal to 1 by N log C2 plus log K. For two experiment values C1 C2 and C1 dash C2 dash, we can write log C1 is equal to 1 by N log C2 plus log K. Log C1 C dash 1 is equal to 1 by N log C dash 2 plus log K. On subtracting equation second from equation first, we have log C1 minus log C dash 1 is equal to 1 by N log C2 minus log C dash 2. N is equal to log C2 minus log C dash 2 upon log C1 minus log C1. Hence, N can be calculated. Similarly, when a solute dissociated in one of the solvents in which its concentration is C2, but then the distribution law is applicable as C1 upon C2 1 minus alpha is equal to K. Thus, if the degree of dissociation of the solute is known as 1 concentration, the value of alpha at any other concentration can be obtained using above equation since X is constant. Fourth is in the study of chemical equilibrium involving formation of complex ion. An important application of distribution lies to study the equilibria involving complex ion. Consider some reactions involving formation of complex ion. Ki is equal to Ki plus I2 after equilibrium Ki3, I negative plus I2 after equilibrium I negative 3, etc. Using distribution law, the equilibrium constant of any of these reactions can be calculated on the basis of a constancy in the value of equilibrium constant. The formula of the complex ion be found out. Application of distribution line determining the formula of complex ion I negative 3 is described as follows. First is a solution of iodine in CS2 is taken with water to determine the distribution coefficient of iodine between CS2 and water. A solution of iodine in CS2 is of known concentration, say a moles liter, is shaken with an aqueous solution of Ki of known concentration. Third is after the equilibrium is established between two layers, the concentration of iodine left in CS2 layer is determined volumetrically by titrating it against standard hypo solution. The equilibrium constant is calculated as follows. Let the initial concentration of iodine in CS2 layer is equal to A moles by liter. The initial concentration of Ki solution is equal to B moles liter. Distribution coefficient of I2 between CS2 and water is equal to K. Concentration of I2 in CS2 layer is equal to C moles liter in aqueous layer I2 react with Ki. Therefore, total concentration of iodine in aqueous layer will be much higher due to the formation of soluble complex Ki3. Total concentration of I2 in aqueous layer is equal to initial concentration of I2 in CS2 minus concentration of I2 left free in CS2 layer is equal to A minus C moles per liter. Concentration of free I2 in aqueous layer can be calculated according to distribution law. Concentration of free I2 in aqueous layer upon concentration of I2 in CS2 layer is equal to K, but the concentration of I2 in CS2 layer is equal to C moles per liter. Concentration of free I2 in aqueous layer is equal to Kc moles per liter. The concentration of I2 that has combined with Ki is equal to A minus C minus Kc moles per liter is equal to D moles per liter. According to the reaction Ki plus I2 after equilibrium, Ki3 number of moles of I2 combined is equal to number of moles of Ki combined is equal to number of moles of Ki3 combined. Concentration of Ki3 in aqueous layer is equal to D moles per liter. Concentration of Ki in aqueous layer is equal to B minus D moles per liter. Concentration of I2 in aqueous layer is equal to Kc moles per liter. Applying law of chemical equilibrium, we can write K dash is equal to Ki3 by Ki multiplied by I2. Taking different initial concentration of I2 and Ki solution, the value of K dash is calculated for each set. The constancy of value of K dash shows by the formula of complex of Ki3 or that of complex ion is I negative 3. In the process of extraction, another important application of the distribution law is in the process of extraction in laboratory as well as in industry. In laboratory, for instance, it is frequently used for the removal of a dissolved organic substance from aqueous solution with solvents such as benzoic ether, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, etc. The advantage is taken of the fact that the partition coefficient of most of the organic compounds is largely in favor of organic solvent. In industry, the process of extraction is used to remove the impurities from the product. The aqueous solution of the substance to be extracted is shaken with an organic solvent in which it is highly soluble. After shaking vigorously, the mixture is allowed to stand for some time. The two layers are then separated using a separating funnel. The organic solvent is recombed by distillation and used again for the extraction process to be more efficient. Following conditions should be fulfilled. First is the distribution coefficient of the substance between the extracting solvent and the solvent in which it is already dissolved should be very high in the favor of extracting solvent. Sometimes the distribution coefficient in the extracting solvent is artificially increased by making the substance less soluble in the aqueous phase. This can be done by adding some substance which decrease the degree of dissociation of the compound in aqueous phase. For example, acetic acid, which weakly ionized in aqueous solution, is to be extracted with ether. A strong acid, say HCl, is added to the solution due to ionization of HCl, and the H positive ions concentration increase, and due to the common ion effect, the ionization of CH3COOH is suppressed. As a result, there is a greater concentration of unionized acetic acid. Hence, greater amount of solution into organic solvent can be increased by adding strong inorganic base. In general, the solubility of an organic compound in water can be decreased by adding salt. Hence, the distribution coefficient increase in favor of extracting solvent. This is termed as salting out effect. Thus, we conclude that greater the distribution coefficient in the favor of organic solvent, greater will be the amount extracted. Second is to recover the maximum amount of substance. The extracting solvent should not be used in one lot, rather it should be used in maximum number of installments. This is called multiple extraction or multi-step extractions. We are provided with 1 liter of ether which may be used in one lot or two installments of 500 cc each. First is using all ether in one installment. Let X of substance be extracted in the extracting solvent, then the amount of the substance left in aqueous layer is equal to A minus Xg. Therefore, concentration in ether X by 1000, concentration in water A minus X by 1000. According to the distribution law, C ether by C water is equal to K. X 1000 by A minus X by 1000 is equal to 2, or X is equal to 2 by 3. A is equal to 0.67 A. Second is extraction using 500 ml of ether. Let x 1 grams of substance be extracted in the first installment of 500 ml ether. Thus, concentration in ether x1 by 500, concentration in water is equal to A minus x1 by 1000. C ether is equal to C ether by C water is equal to 2, x1 by 500 A minus by A minus x1 by 100 is equal to 2. Hence, x is equal to 1 by 2A. 50% of substance will be extracted in one installment. The substance left in aqueous layer A minus 1 by 2 A is equal to 1 by 2 A. Now 1 liter of aqueous solution containing 1 by 2 Ag of the substance is extracted with 500 ml of ether. Let x2 grams of the substance be removed from aqueous layer into 500 ml ether. Thus concentration in ether is equal to x2 by 500. Concentration in water is equal to 1 by 2A minus x2. C ether by C water is equal to 2 x2 by 500 upon 1 upon 2A minus x2 by 100 is equal to 2. x2 is equal to 1 by 4A. Hence 25% of the substance is extracted into ether layer. Total amount of substance extracted is equal to 50 plus 25 is equal to 75%. Thus when the substance is extracted using two 500 ml portions of the solvent, the percentage extraction increase from 66.66 to 75. Similarly, it can be shown can be extracted, thus it can be concluded to do more efficient extraction. It is better to use a given quantity of solvent in small portions. However, it must be noted that it is not possible to extract whole of the dissolved substance. However, large number of extraction may be carried out every time the substance distribution itself between two solvent, and some amount is always left unextracted. General formula for the substance left unextracted. A general expression to calculate the amount of substance left unextracted after a given number of operations is derived as below. Suppose Wg of the substance is present in V ml of solution made by using solvent A. It is extracted with extracting solvent B using V ml of B each time. K is the partition coefficient of the substance between solution A and B. Let W1G be the amount of substance left unextracted in solvent A after first extraction. The distribution coefficient as the first stage is given by concentration of substance in original solvent A upon concentration of substance in extracting solvent B is equal to K. W1 by V upon W minus W1 by V is equal to K, or W1 is equal to KV by KV plus V multiply by W. Now after the second extraction, if WTZ is the amount of left unextracted in solvent A, then the amount of substance extracted is W1 minus W2G. From distribution law, W2 minus V, W2 by V upon W1 minus W2 by V is equal to K, or W2 is equal to W1 multiplied by KV by KV plus V. Substituting value of W1 from equation first, we get W2 is equal to W KV by KV plus KV square. In general, the amount of substance that remains unextracted after nth extraction will be Wn is equal to W KV by KV plus mu by n. To make extraction process most efficient, Wn should be small as possible. This can happen if the term KV upon KV plus mu by की power n is made as small as possible. In this term, the denominator KV plus V is bigger than the numerator KV, hence the factor KV by KV plus mu naught smaller than 1. Therefore, factor will be least for the greater value of n. Hence, the efficiency of extraction increases by increasing the number of extraction using only a small amount of extracting solvent each time. Thus, it is obvious that better efficiency can be achieved by keeping V as small and n large. So it follows that the multi-step extraction is more economical than the single-step extraction. Also, it is clear from equation 4 that Wn can never be equal to 0. However, large value of n may be that it is not possible of extraction whole of the dissolved substance. However, large number of extraction may be carried out. The principal extraction is used in Parker's process for desilverization of lead. Silver is more soluble in zinc than lead. The agentiferous lead is melted and heated to 880 degrees Celsius, and then molten zinc is added. Molten zinc is immiscible with molten lead, hence from two immiscible liquid in contact with each other, and silver behaves as a solute which is more soluble in zinc than in lead. The partition coefficient of silver in favor of zinc is 300 at 880 degrees Celsius. Silver therefore passes readily from the heavier lead layer into the lighter zinc layer, which is then separated. 6 is in the determination of degree of hydrolysis. Hydrolysis is defined as a process in which water reacts with salt to form an acid and a base. Some terms related to salt hydrolysis. First is hydrolysis constant. A general hydrolysis reaction of a salt Ba can be written as Ba plus H2 after equilibrium Ha plus BOH. Applying law of chemical equilibrium, the equilibrium constant can be written as K is equal to Ha into BOH by Ba plus into H2O. Since the concentration of water H2O is very large, it is regarded as partially constant. Thus expression 1 may be written as HA into BOH by BA is equal to KH2O is equal to KH, where KH is the hydrolysis constant. Second is degree of hydrolysis. The degree of hydrolysis of a salt may be defined as a fraction of the total amount of salt which is hydrolyzed as a point of equilibrium. For example, in an aqueous solution of aniline hydrochloride, 80% of hydrolyzed into aniline and hydrochloric acid, then the degree of hydrolysis is 0.80%. The degree of hydrolysis is represented as small h. Mathematically, h is written as h is equal to number of moles of salt hydrolyzed divided by total number of moles of salt. Expressing for degree of hydrolysis of different types of salt, the salts of strong acid and strong base such as NaCl, Na2SO4, KCl, KNO3, etc. do not undergo hydrolysis. Therefore, for such salt, expression for K, H and H are not written. These constants for the other three types of salt are discussed here. First is salt of weak acid and strong base. The hydrolysis reaction of the salt Ba is written as Ba plus H2 after equilibrium BOH plus HA. In aqueous solution, Ba and strong base BOH undergoes complete dissociation, where HA being weak acid remains undissociated. Therefore, we can write B positive A negative plus H2O after equilibrium B positive plus OH negative plus HA. Thus, the salt of weak acid and strong base undergoes anionic hydrolysis. It is initial concentration of the salt is C moles per liter, and H is its degree of hydrolysis. Then we have A negative plus H2 after equilibrium, OH negative plus HO. HA, KH is equal to OH negative into HA divided by A negative is equal to CH dot CH by C1 minus H is equal to CH2 CH square upon 1 minus H. If small h is quite small as compared to 1, then 1 minus H is equal to 1, and above expression becomes H is equal to KH under root KHC. H directly proportional to under root 1 by C. Thus, the degree of dihydrolysis of salt of a weak acid or strong base is inversely proportional to the same square root of its molar concentration. Second is salt of strong acid and weak base. The general hydrolysis reaction for the salts Ba is written as Ba plus H2 after equilibrium BOH plus HA. The salt Ba and strong acid HA are completely dissociation. Therefore, we can write B positive plus H2 after equilibrium BOH plus H positive. Hence, the salt undergoes cationic hydrolysis. In the case of hydrolysis, constant is given by KH is equal to BOH H positive by B positive, as H is very than 1. Therefore, above equation becomes CH square is equal to KH, or H square is equal to under root KH by C, or H is equal to KH under root KH by C. Third is salt of weak acid and weak bases. The salt of weak acid and weak base B undergoes hydrolysis as Ba plus H2 after equilibrium BOH plus HA. The weak acid and weak bases are weakly dissociated, but the salt Ba is completely dissociated. Then we can write B positive plus A negative plus H2 after equilibrium BOH plus HA. Thus, it involves both cationic hydrolysis as well as anionic hydrolysis at equilibrium. B positive plus A negative plus H2 after equilibrium BOH plus HA. KH is equal to BOH into HA by B positive into A positive is equal to CH dot CH upon C1 minus H into C1 minus H is equal to H square by 1 minus H square. In case of this salt, H is very higher than 1, that is 1 minus H is equal to 1. Therefore, above expression can be written as KH is equal to H square, H is equal to under root KH. It is important to note that expression does not involve concentration terms. The application of distribution line determining the degree of hydrolysis. Aniline hydrochloride C6H5NH2.HCl is a salt of weak base and a strong acid. Its degree of hydrolysis is determined as follows. Step first, determination of hydrolysis constant. Aniline hydrochloride is hydrolyzed according to the reaction C6H5NH3Cl plus H2O after equilibrium C6H5NH3OH plus HCl. The hydrolysis concentration is given as C6H5NH2 plus H2O. To calculate the above concentration, an aqueous solution of aniline hydrochloride of known concentration is taken with a known volume of benzene. On standing the mixture separate into two layers, free aniline get distributed between water and benzene, while HCl and unhydrolyzed salt remain in the aqueous layer as shown in figure. First is determination of concentration of free aniline in the aqueous layer. A known volume of benzene layer is taken out of the solvent, is evaporated, then the weight of aniline left behind is found. From this, concentration of aniline in benzene layer is calculated. The concentration of aniline in aqueous layer can be calculated using distribution law. Second is determination of concentration of free HCl in aqueous layer. From hydrolysis reaction, it is clear that number of molecules of HCl set free is equal to total number of molecules of aniline product. For the total amount of aniline produced is equal to amount of aniline present in aqueous layer plus amount of aniline in benzene layer. The concentration of free aniline in aqueous and benzene layer is calculated in step first. Above, from these values, the number of moles of free HCl produced is also calculated. From the volume of aqueous layer and the number of moles of HCl, the concentration of free HCl in aqueous layer can be calculated. Third is determination of concentration of hydrolyzed salt in aqueous layer. Again, from hydrolysis equation, it is seen that the number of molecules of aniline hydrochloride hydrolyzed is equal to total number of moles of free aniline or HCl produced. The quantity of RHS has been calculated in step third above. Therefore, the number of moles of aniline hydrochloride hydrolyzed is obtained when this is subtracted from the initial number of moles of the salt. The number of moles of unhydrolyzed salt can be calculated from the volume of aqueous layer. The concentration of unhydrolyzed salt can be calculated substituting the values calculated in step first, second and third in equation. First, the hydrolysis constant Kh of the salt can be calculated. Fourth is calculating of degree of hydrolysis of aniline hydrochloride. After calculating the hydrolysis constant Kh as discussed above, for a solution of the salt having concentration C moles per liter, the degree of hydrolysis can be written calculated using expression H is equal to under root Kh by C. And that's done. Thank you.